When I was 5 years old, I spent a lot of my time outside of school sitting in front of the television. I'm sure this idea is not new to many of you, as it seems to be a common tradition for many people. However, one day my tradition got interrupted by something that was unlike anything I had ever seen before. I was presented with a commercial, except this commercial was not advertising a product. Instead, it was selling an idea. The advertisement was trying to convey the importance of safety in the workplace. And while this message would not typically stick in the mind of a 5-year-old, the aspects of this commercial were very different. This style of advertising is called a public service announcement, or PSA for short. According to the Center for Rural Health at the University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences, a PSA can be defined as a message shared with the general public to raise awareness for an issue or event. Essentially, a PSA is an advertisement that aims to educate the audience rather than sell a product. Most of you have probably seen one of these before, as they exist for many societal issues. An example of a PSA is the infamous "This is your brain on drugs" campaign, or Anderson, Erickson Dairy partnering with the FBI to feature pictures of missing children on their milk cartons. There is a common trend that can be seen with PSAs and the strategies they use to force their messages into the minds of their audiences. Continuing with my story from when I was 5, the workplace safety PSA I had watched was significantly more horrifying than anything else I had ever seen on television before. It was sad, scary, and it made a very long-lasting impression on me. Without the frightening delivery of this message, I would most likely not have remembered it an hour later, let alone 2 decades later. Fear has been used as a tactic to make a message stick in people's minds for a long time now. While this technique has been used in many political speeches and addresses since before even the ancient Romans, the idea was popularized in advertising by a man named Edward Bernays. Bernays wrote an essay titled "The Engineering of Consent," in which he describes the ideas on how to manipulate the public opinion on a brand, person, or idea by utilizing sociological and psychological philosophies. The methods Bernays wrote about are mostly used in advertising in the modern day as ways to convince you to purchase something. To provide an example, the term FOMO, or fear of missing out, was coined by author Patrick J. McGinnis and popularized in The Harvest, the magazine of Harvard Business School. Soon after this term was created, advertising companies began utilizing people's inherent worry that others will experience something that they will not. Think about a time you saw a company advertising a limited edition food item or an event. Think about some of the methods they used to try and influence you to take part. The advertisement may have featured a saying towards the end similar to "get it before it's gone," or possibly there is a specific date listed at the end of the commercial showing when the deal will end. You may be asking where I am going with all this. Why should advertisements that utilize fear be something to pay attention to? Well, the main reason this topic is so important is so you are able to maintain control of your emotions. Manipulating one's emotions, especially when it comes to emotions with a negative connotation, such as fear, can lead to lasting effects on a person. And yes, this can even be seen in something as simple as advertising. There is a theory in sociology called self-determination theory, or SDT. This is essentially a way to organize how people view themselves and their worth to society, and it can be split into 3 groups: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The main focus of these 3 when advertising something that a person could potentially miss out on is relatedness, or the ability to create kinship between a person and a group. If everyone experienced something that one person did not, that person is going to feel left out of the group. The lack of kinship, closeness, and relationships could definitely lower a person's self-worth as humans strive for emotional connections and shared experiences. These feelings of isolation will most likely have negative effects on a person's mental health. Returning to my personal story, the PSA that impacted me so greatly featured something horrific to a child. The climax of the advertisement featured a woman spilling boiling water all over herself. The frightening imagery and sounds have stuck with me for many years, and somewhat embarrassingly, it took me almost 15 years afterwards to get over a fear of boiling water. The single advertisement I saw when I was 5 years old made it so it was difficult for me to do something as simple as make pasta. This technique in advertising is known as shock advertising, or also known as shockvertising. This is when an advertisement intentionally startles its viewers to make the ideas, and in turn the products, featured in the advertisement stick in their minds. While this strategy is usually good to help an audience to recall a brand, it also has a few negative effects. Negative effects for the company include the shockvertising technique causing potential backlash due to offensive content, or audiences making the association between a brand and a disturbing topic. However, shock advertising can also have negative effects on the viewers, such as the fact that the majority of an audience will not want to witness something offensive or disturbing unexpectedly. Again, you might be wondering why this is important. Most of you likely understand that advertisements are manipulative. In fact, the main purpose of advertisements is to make an audience aware of and influenced into purchasing a product or partaking in an activity that they previously may not have purchased or participated in. So why would me pointing this out matter to you? Think about what a PSA stands for again. Public Service Announcement. These are created to provide a service to the public by announcing something. These are supposed to help the public. While some of these may be scary, dark, uncomfortable, or even obnoxious, ultimately they were made to make society better. Here's where everything comes full circle. PSAs may be frightening to people, but that is because life can be frightening. Some of the most common PSA topics are anti-drug PSAs. It may be disturbing to see someone with a hole in their neck from procedures they had to go through after smoking. But what makes these visuals so impactful is the idea of you having to go through the same thing. This creates a fear in your mind that this may happen to you if you do not follow the safety measures being communicated by the PSA. One of the most disturbing PSAs to me is not creepy due to its content, but instead due to the context surrounding the PSA. In 2010, Ad Council Japan created a PSA explaining polite phrases for children to use when addressing others. This PSA featured animal characters based around puns in Japanese, with the sayings being taught. While this may not have been creepy during its initial airing, the PSA continued to be aired in 2011 during the earthquakes taking place primarily on the coast of the island of Honshu. Searching for this PSA online finds plenty of results, but one re-upload in particular is heartbreaking. Scrolling through the comments on this re-upload, you can find hundreds of people remembering how during a time when the only thing on every channel in Japan was the news, and most advertisers pulled their advertisements out of respect, this simple animation encouraging everyone to be polite to each other really stood out to many kids at the time. A lot of people are reminiscing in these comment sections about how this little cartoon was the only thing that made sense to them during the disaster. When a lot of these kids did not know if they would even have power that night, they did understand one thing thanks to this PSA: be polite to those around you. Picture being in such a scary situation as a child. You are confused, frightened, and you are not even sure if anyone outside of your household would even be there tomorrow. But you always had this little PSA to look forward to. It may not be scary in the traditional sense, but the situation and context surrounding this PSA brings a whole new light to the message being provided. In times of uncertainty, doubt, and fear, the only things that are truly guaranteed are your connections to other people. What can someone do with this information? Ultimately, the point I'm trying to get at is know when you are being scared. Recognize the techniques I've talked about today. I realize when a company is utilizing FOMO to make you feel like an outcast. Understand that companies use shocking content to grab your attention and make you want to buy something. Most importantly, however, recognize when these techniques are trying to help you rather than make you feel worse about yourself. If a PSA asks you not to drink and drive and it showcases a car accident to make this point, as tragic as that situation is, try to take it in and realize that this is a realistic situation for many people. If you see something on television asking you to report when a child is being mistreated, know that following the PSA's instructions could save someone's life. And if a PSA shows a lady spilling boiling water on herself due to workplace hazards, don't take that as stay away from boiling water, like I did when I was a kid. Take that as a sign that some issues are frequent enough to the point that someone has to do something about it. Take that call to action and make the world a better place for everyone, whether you're afraid to or not. Fear is a tool. Use it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Always wanted to say that.